Hi everybody. So the other day I showed you how I was going to store my embossing folders. And I talked about the fact that I didn't have a page protector that fit some of my embossing folders. I have lots of page protectors in different sizes. These are photo ones. One of these was this one is a baseball or trading card one. And I have used those not only for my embossing folders, but also to store fussy cut images. Different sizes work very nicely for fussy cut images. And that's great. But they don't always fit what we want. Just like with the embossing folders and the fact that I didn't have any embossing folders that would hold these great, I didn't have any page protectors, excuse me. I didn't have any page protectors that would hold these great big embossing folders. I think they're like 5 by 8 or something like that. Let me get a ruler and tell you. These embossing folders happen to be almost 5 by 7. And there are page protectors out there that might fit them, but I didn't want to have to order them, especially since I didn't have but just a few of these this size embossing folder. So I made my own. And there might be other reasons that we want a specific size. I actually made this one recently because while the baseball size or the trading card size are upright, they don't always work real well. If your images are tiny, you can't get to them because they'll slip to the bottom. So I made this one go in the other direction. As you can see, I can make different sizes, including something like this. So the other thing is, I have a bunch of these. And a lot of times you can find these at the thrift store. Okay? And I do have my sewing machine. So today I'm going to show you how to make these. Okay, it is very, very simple, but there are a couple tricks. Okay, the first trick is when we want to have a specific size, doesn't matter what. Okay, and this one I'm actually going to leave long ways like this so that strips of things will fit in it. You could make them long ways this way. And I have actually done that before so that paper strips will fit in it. All kinds of things that will work that way. So now what I'm going to do is show you the first important trick. And that is to mark this, but that's not really the trick. We're going to mark this. That's, I think, something you'd have figured out. These are about 11 inches, so 5.5. Is about where it should be marked. And I just mark a couple of marks on here and then draw a line. Got to be able to see it to draw the line though. Okay, so this is my first important secret to tell you. Don't go sew this first. You do not want to sew it before it's cut. Ask me how I know. What we want to do is we want to cut this line, and we're only going to cut the front piece of it. Do not cut the back piece, only the front. We want the pocket to be secure both places. But what we're going to do is we're going to fold this. We're going to take hold of it, get just the front piece. Sometimes it's easier to do it this way. And fold it where the lines meet Okay, and let me bring it in real tight so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so we don't want to fold it where they don't line up. What we want them to do is we want them to line up, and we're just going to clip it right there, but if you don't get them lined up, your cut's going to be crooked. So once they line up, we're going to clip it. Like so. And then we're just going to slide our seam. Now you see my hands in the middle, in between, and we're just going to slide in between and cut it. And I'm going to cut it to the fold, the edge, like so. And I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to cut it the other direction until I get to this white line. Let me bring it back out a little bit. I think this is the hardest part, is getting it cut. You want to make sure to only cut the front edge, the front piece of plastic. I'm going to just cut right to there. Okay, so once we get that part, and that's the trick, cut it before you sew it. First trick, cut before you sew. Now, I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine, and we'll finish it up. Okay, guys, I'm going to attempt to show you on the sewing machine what you need to do to finish these out. It's really very, very simple. One, you want to have a reasonably good size needle. I would say a standard 80-12 is fine for this. So you do not want to have a giant needle. A jeans needle is so big that it was going to punch big holes, and you don't want giant holes in your plastic. You also don't want a ton of holes. So while I'm going to use a zigzag stitch, I am actually going to use a fairly wide, fairly long stitch. I have my machine set at 4 and about 3. 4 wide, 3 long. It doesn't have to be. Now, if you're using a standard machine that does not have a zigzag stitch, just use a longer straight stitch, not a basting stitch, but one that's about half. Like my length goes up to 5. Most sewing machines do that, but and I'm using 3. So don't get it really tiny stitches, okay? Pretty good stitches. I have regular old thread in mine, and you can just just use regular sewing thread. Sorry, brain freeze. I'm gonna do just a couple of stitches here, and you know, okay, this is the top. Okay, this edge over here is the top. The bottom is over there. I am sewing on the bottom of where I cut it. Okay. The top of my little pocket needs to be open. So I have my machine set, and I guess it's a little closer to the edge I would like to be, so that I'm sewing this part. This is the bottom of my pocket. I'm going to just take a couple of stitches and back up a couple of stitches. So just to lock the threads. Now, if you don't have a reverse on your machine, drop your feed dogs for a couple stitches and it'll just lock them in place. Remember that we're sewing on plastic. It's not a perfect system. Don't speed through this. You don't want to tear your plastic. back up a couple of stitches at the end. Now, I find it easier, just 1 minute, let me cut these loose, to sew from this edge, which is the one that's bonded. This one over here is folded. So if for some unknown reason it gets pushed on the top, which sometimes can happen, it allows the plastic to fold. Did that a little too far again, so let's put it back on the edge. And there again, I don't want to do a ton of back stitching right at the edge because too many holes in plastic will tear it. Now I'm just going to sew all of the bottoms of all of my pockets. Let's see if I can get you up high enough where you can see what I've done. Okay, so at this point, when all of these are stitched up across the bottom, and the thing is, I'm not going to stitch this one. I want these longer pockets for some longer images that I have. So I'm going to tell you that you could stitch up this way, you could stitch it twice, you can do whatever you want to create your pockets. But do the bottoms of your pocket first, and then when you go to sew up this, if you want to divide it, sew from the bottom up. That way you won't catch your little edges, and that's the other trick. Sew all the bottoms of your pockets, and then from the bottom of your page up, sew whichever direction you want to sew the other way. I'm hoping, guys, that this helps in some way. I really, you know, it's just one of those things that I have page protectors and I don't always have the size pocket I want. So I thought I'd make myself a few little page protectors to do what I wanted them to do, to help to organize my stuff, and I hoped that maybe it would help your organization of the things that you want to do. So now I'm going to tell you, go have fun. Make some art. Bye-bye.